Now, President Tinubu has just 28 days to send the much-anticipated ministerial list to the National Assembly for screening. The unveiling of the president's ministerial list is perhaps one of the most keenly awaited development in the country. We'll take a break now, and when we're back, we'll talk more about this development. Well, there are indications the ministerial list will be unveiled anytime from now. This list is critical, a very critical component of the president's vision for the country, as well as, many of the things he's promised during the campaigns, and the expectations of Nigerians are very high. Recall that former President Muhammadu Buhari on March 17, 2023, assented to a bill mandating the president and governors to submit ministerial nominees and commissioner nominees within 60 days of taking the oath of office. It's now day 32 for the president, 28 more days to go. We heard him yesterday talk to governors that in the coming week they will be hearing from him, and it seems that we are in for some big announcements after this holiday. Now, what should Nigerians expect? And who should make this list, particularly when you look at the political consideration and the need for competent hands in this regard? These are many of the things that we're considering on the show today. There is no doubt we need competent individuals with a track record of success in their respective fields to drive progress and development. But there are also factors to be considered which we believe are key indices that will drive the performance of individuals who will make this list. When you consider the kind of political collaboration that we experienced before the election, many are saying that we have a robust that the president indeed has a robust political consideration to make where this list is concerned. But there are a few people who are also quite impressed by the few appointments he's made, the list of his special advisors, the chief of staff, and, so on and so forth. But the ballgame is completely different because there's a constitutional requirement for a minister from each of the 36 states. So there's the issue of inclusion. There's a question of how many women and young people will, make this list. I'm joined on the first 100 days by APC chieftain and former lawmaker representing Oshodi Solo 2 constituency at the state legislature, Jude Idomogo. I understand he will be joining us shortly, but I'm here in the studio with my executive editor, Kayode Ladende.
I was already looking at myself. How was I a lawmaker?
Oh, you thought it was you. Of course, maybe I have a premonition that you will change occupation very soon. But it's a very interesting development that we have in our hands, particularly with the president's choice of ministers. There are some who said, well, we've seen a couple of decisions he's made in that regard. But you agree with me that Nigerians are expecting that this list will match a lot of competence in key areas where Nigerians expect him to deliver. Do you agree?
I think one thing is the expectation of Nigerians, and the other thing is one of the reasons why we elect a leader is that he should have that vantage position. You should see what we don't see. And so probably I should tell Nigerians that sometimes your expectations, you need to limit it because we never can tell what is the lens he is seeing from. But from the benefit of hindsight and what other presidents have been doing over time, we know it's usually a tough task where you have political associates, you have governors who were part of the whole electioneering process, who probably had been promised or they've also requested that, would need a ministerial slot and all kinds of things. So it's really not an easy decision.
Absolutely.
As much as the law now mandates that it should be 2 months, we'll understand that. And somebody will want to argue again that the election had been won since March 1st, when he was declared the president. But it's beyond that, and we can also attest to the fact that it's beyond that. However, what are we expecting? Again, I will talk about the president. You know, the president we know sometimes usually comes with a whole lot of surprise, right from his days as the governor, where they will just come up with names that you probably don't know. And we also, some of us are privy to some information where he suggested some names to the former president as ministerial nominees. But the president just felt, no, let's reward the boys. Let's put this position in the hands of politicians. But now he is in the saddle to see how easy it is to say that I want competent hands, I want technocrats, I want people who can, you know, move the way I'm moving. And so it's a difficult thing, but I will expect him to have a mixed grill.
He's a politician himself, and we saw the kind of inter-party collaboration that preceded it.
Exactly.
So people are saying, does he have a choice this time to look away from the boys?
You know, basically, like I love that question, and that's to let you know that let's also be fair to the people we call career politicians. Some of them are not. Some of them have competent jobs. They have good jobs that they are doing. Immediately they fall away. Like the man you spoke with yesterday, Brigadier Daniel, I am aware that immediately he stopped being a governor. He goes to the office almost every day, and he attends to, you know, clients and whatever you want to call them. The president himself was also in a private practice maybe many years ago. And you would not say that he's also not still practicing what they learned in the university as an accountant. We know that probably there are some companies that he still has interest in. So let's not say that when we see politicians, we just form an opinion that these are just mere career politicians. Some of them are technocrats.
It's just that the moment you become a politician, it becomes a bit more complex. Nigerians don't.
That comes to the front burner. That's the way people want to describe it.
That is what people want to talk about. Let's bring in an APC chieftain, former lawmaker who represented Oshodi Solo 2 constituency, Jude Dimogu. Thank you for joining us on the program. So according to the Nigerian constitution, there must be at least one cabinet member from each of the 36 states in the country. How easy is this decision, Mr. Dimogu, for the president, who possibly has a lot of political considerations to make?
Hello? Hello?
Mr. Dimogu, I'm asking how easy you think this decision will be for Mr. President, who has political considerations to make, his choice of ministers.
Well, for me, it is difficult. There's no doubt about it. But the truth is that Mr. President is had experience and have been in the system for a while, for a long time, since this new dispensation started, since 1999 till date. So I have a lot of people in almost every state. But however, also remember that it is the state governors that most times recommend some names. I think if I get it right, I believe every state will submit like 15 names from the state governors. So this state from the 3 names to be the one pick one is depending on the understanding of the president and the recommendation of the state governor. So that's the way I believe it can go. But at the end of the day, apart from politicians, the truth remains for me is that the governor should know in more detail people that he is presenting to that level to represent each state. So for me, though it's difficult, it's a little bit difficult, but with the support of the governor and what the president expects from each candidate or whoever they are proposing to become a minister, depending on the position again, it will work out. That's what I think.
I'll be back with you shortly. Do you agree with him? Can we trust the governors with this list?
I think, just for record, it's not mandatory that the governor will have to drop the ministerial nominee. And record also has that. For example, in Kwara State, it wasn't the governor of Kwara State that gave Lai Mohammed as the minister. It was the president's volition. And even in Lagos, it was also a bit controversial on who, picked Babatunde Fashola. So basically, I think it still boils down to the president. It is always expected that political consideration, the president might want to allow the governor to drop the names. But if the president sees that, I know some people in this state, I know some people who can do this job, or probably some people have actually reached out to him to say that And you remember what Tony Elumelu told him, that in case you need some smart ministers, I have some of them. He is not a governor. So that's to let you know that there are different kinds of consultations that will, put up the ministerial list that we are much anticipating.
Honorable, let's tap into your legislative experience for a bit. The vetting and confirmation process that we usually see at the National Assembly. Some have called it a shoddy job. What they call, what do they call it again?
Take a bow.
Take a bow. Take a bow and go. And we see how these have impacted on the relationship between the National Assembly and these ministers. Some of them are summoned, the heads of ministries, departments, and agencies don't even show up. What do you expect this time to be done differently?
Well, it's up to the president because it's his prerogative right to choose those he wants to choose and also to give modalities the way he wants it to go. If he decides to maybe put the portfolio for each ministerial position, it will make it much, much easier for the legislators at the National Assembly, especially the senators, to confirm and know how questions they are going to ask. However, the issue of bar and go is sometimes it's a privilege given to mostly those that the legislators already know. Let me say, if you are a past senator and you have been in their system, they know you very well. They know what you can do. They know your background. So most of the time, they give you that privilege as a member of that place. Or people, mostly former members, they give them those kind of opportunity. But all the same, yeah, for me, there's nothing wrong in that. If people, after all, you have what you call your colleagues. Your colleagues can come. Of course, you make things a little bit easier for them to buy and go because you know them better. However, if, like I said, if they attach portfolios to this ministerial position,
do you think we can count on the lawmakers to be honest? For instance, you see a colleague of yours who you are sure is a thief, who has stolen public fund, who is not competent. Do you trust them to speak out on the floor of the Senate, for instance, in that regard?
When, comrades are comrades. Sometimes you don't need to expose them openly. The only thing that happens, sometimes you have the committee that being set up before they even come openly to face the number of people at the Senate or even House of Reps, as the case may be. Sometimes you do what you call an inner house arrangement. You talk to them, a committee will be set up, they have questions and answers, and from there you can also fish out those people that you believe that are not qualified before you can come to an open. So sometimes not a straight thing. My own experience on the parliament is that, one, at times it depends on maybe the Senate president as the case may be, or even if at the level of the state, the speaker can decide, okay, form a committee and prune down these people, then before it can come to the larger house. So it depends on the method the Senate president, in case of ministers, and what he wants to do.
Good place to leave it. Judy Demogu, APC chieftain, former lawmaker representing Oshodi Solo 2 constituency at the state legislature. Thank you so much for talking to us on the program. Now, I know you still have a lot of things to say, but you see, that's how short this show is. We have to go.
No problem.
But integrity is key as to the people that must make this list. Do you agree?
Integrity and competence. Trust me, the both are very, very needed. People don't want to remember the idea of integrity.
Can you have one without the other? Competent leaders who do not have a track record of integrity.
Obviously.
People with integrity who lack the competence.
I'm more interested in competence. Integrity is key, but trust me, we need people to fix this economy. We need people to move with the pace that the president has started with.
Indeed. Executive Editor, TVC News, Kayode Ladende, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a privilege.
On the program. Well, he's always been part of the show. He's just behind the scene.